Hello. In Kenya, we say habari yenu, you say mzuri sana. So habari yenu, mzuri sana. This is an opportunity, a great opportunity for me to come to speak in this audience. I knew second-hand clothes business is big, but I didn't know it was this big. Bringing together over 300 people, it's an amazing experience. So I'll start. Lisa has told me that if I spend 10 minutes doing my presentation, I'll get one of the iPads. So I'll try and be quick. So I'll speak about Kenya, what we're doing in Kenya. My colleague has talked about the Greater Humana. So Think Twice is the brand that operates in Kenya. And as we said, we have 29 shops across the country, which majority of them focused in the capital, which is Nairobi. One of the greatest things that we have done is each shop employs about 13 people, individual, that's only in the shop without the back door staff. So that makes about almost 500 people employed in Kenya alone by Think Twice. We started operating in 2014 in Kenya. What is our vision? Our vision is basically we want to encourage a circular economy across the world. Everyone is talking about circular economy, everyone is talking about reuse, so we are part of that. Our business model, we have seen different models. Our models run in 2-week cycle. The 2-week cycle is we staff everything new, and we sell that off within 2 weeks. In between the week, we're filling in what has been sold out. You should come in our shops when we are doing an opening. It's a stampede, actually. People trying to get in, because most of those guys who are buying are actually resellers who are buying to go sell somewhere else. So after 2 weeks, we clear out everything. Whatever is left, we'll pack it, package it back, take it to our warehouse, and sell it to other retailers. And then we put in new stock. Our location, as I said, most of the shops are in Nairobi, which is the capital. Then the rest are distributed within the region. That's about Think Twice. So now we come to Kenya. We have heard about Central America. We have heard about Europe, America. Now we come to Africa. Africa, as we say, is the next frontier, is the next economic frontier. So this is where you should be bringing your clothes, actually. That's where the money is. I've been frozen. Okay. Yeah. So what is mitumba? First, mitumba is the Swahili name for second-hand clothes. That's what we call it in Kenya. If you've been to Kenya, a few of you have told me you've been to Kenya, you've been to Gikomba, you understand mitumba is the word that we use to refer to second-hand clothes. So a few years back, which will be mentioned within the presentation, out of ignorance, out of overzealous government officials, during the COVID pandemic, the government banned the importation of second-hand clothes in Kenya. The reason being that second-hand clothes was bringing in COVID into the country. So there was a lot of, it was just, I can't even define what it was. So a team led by Dorothea, who is here with us, we decided to bring together all the traders that deal in second-hand clothes. And we formed an association called Mitumba Consortium Association of Kenya. That association never existed until from 2020, so it's a very young association. I lead the advocacy and the lobbying part of that association. And one of the things that we did was commission a report, and that report indicated that in Kenya alone, the sector employs 2 million people. Central America, how many countries are in Central America? Yeah, they employ about 2.1. Kenya alone is 2 million people. So you can see the level of impact that the sector has in the economy. The aim is to, as I said, promote the association, because there's a lot of misinformation, especially from government officials in terms of what second-hand clothes is. As we said, you say the word mitumba in Kenya, people think of being poor, not privileged. So it's about empowering the people to understand what the association stands for. And those are the numbers. Over 2 million people employed by the sector in Kenya, supporting over 20 million Kenyans. These are people who depend, who feed the family through the sector. That's over 20 million people. These are people who clothe and wear mitumba, second-hand clothes every other day. And there is more promise to create more jobs if there is a greater environment for that business to prosper. What needs to be done for Africa and for Kenya? We need to create the right policies. The people who are making decisions, as someone said here, are not aware of what is going on. They're making policies from a level of no understanding of what the sector is about. So there's need to empower and talk to our leaders, to the politicians who are making these decisions to ensure that we have better environment for the sector to grow. The landscape in Kenya, this is just in terms of the industry in Kenya. You can see in 2015, this is what was coming into Kenya, 111,000 tons of second-hand clothes coming into Kenya. All the way to 2019, shot up to 185,000 tons. That shows the potential and the demand for second-hand clothes in Kenya. And this is just Kenya alone, not even touching about East Africa and the larger Africa region. And that is in terms of volume of what we are talking about that came into Kenya. 18 billion Kenyan shillings, that's about $90 million. That's the value of the trade in Kenya. We spoke about the jobs. Then, are we going back? Oh, sorry. I see there's a discussion coming about women in second-hand clothes. Kenya alone, 45% of people who trade in second-hand clothes are women. That's a very huge number. 45%, if you go to the market, Gikomba is the largest market in second-hand clothes in Kenya, actually in East Africa. Most of the people there are women who are selling day to day. The people who are doing tailoring, repairing the clothes that have been torn, all those are employed by the sector are women. This, I don't know whether you're able to see, depicts in terms of where the 2 million people we're talking about. This is the people who are employed by the sector. We're talking about from the port of Mombasa, people who are offloading, the importers who bring in the clothes, the truckers who carry the clothes all the way from Mombasa to Nairobi, inland Kenya. We're talking about the people who are in the godowns who are offloading those trucks. So it shows the snowball effect in terms of all the people that are employed by the sector in Kenya. We did this so that we are able to visualize to the Kenyan government in terms of the impact that you're affecting when you ban a sector that has such a great impact in the economy. So that's how it is. In terms of taxation, the sector alone paid an excess of, should be 80 million. Should be $80 million, not 8. I think there's a mistake. Paid in excess, this is each month, yes. So each month, it's $8 million to the Kenyan government. That's the taxes that we pay, which goes a long way in supporting government services and infrastructure development that we as Kenyans require very much. So that's the amount of volume that we're talking about. This is now for the year, $96 million. How does that break down? The levies that we pay include import duty, which is very high. We're paying about that 5% duty for second-hand clothes. These taxes, that in a container, we're paying about $15,000. A container which is about 40 feet, $15,000 per container. That's quite a lot of money for someone to say that we're bringing in waste into Africa. Then, why are people into second-hand clothes in Kenya and in Africa, and also everywhere else, including Central America? It's not only because it's affordable, but it's the quality of clothes that we are getting. You are able to wear that cloth for quite a longer time than what you would get locally produced in Kenya. We asked one of the manufacturers in Kenya who are doing new clothes, what would be the minimum cost for jeans? And they said one pair of jeans would be about $5. That's the lowest they would come, and the quality of that would be probably in a year or 2 years you'll be throwing that away. So it's not easy to find a homestead of about 10 people. We Africans usually, we love children, so a homestead will probably have like 8 to 10 people. So if you have 8 people in your house to dress, I don't think you'd be able to afford $5 times 8 every other time to buy clothes that you'd probably be throwing away every 1 year. So that's why second-hand clothes is a very big industry in Kenya, because you're getting affordability, you're finding quality of clothes that are being that are there. So this is what I spoke about the ban that happened in was it May of 2020? After intense lobbying by my colleague Dorothea, myself, and others, we went all the way to have a meeting with the President of the Republic of Kenya and appealed for him to lift the ban. 3-4 months later, we were happy that the ban was lifted. Of course, it came with a couple of other restrictions. We have restrictions that we can bring in towels, we can bring in undergarments. So that's some of the restrictions that we're trying to work through to ensure that we are back to where we were. What are the opportunities? Kenya, we do not have sorting centers for second-hand clothes. And that's an opportunity that we're trying to discuss with government to see how we are able to set up sorting centers. First of all, it's cheaper to sort the clothes in Kenya because labor is cheap. Sorry to say that, but yeah, it is cheap. So we're able to save more by sorting the clothes. Then we're also able, we have control over what we get and what we sell to the people. So that's a discussion that we're having with government. Hopefully, by the end of this year, we'll have a few sorting centers that will be in place. East Africa. East Africa consists of about 7 countries. It's 7 countries, including Kenya. And the trade within East Africa is estimated to be about $1.5 to $3.4 billion within the 7 countries. And Kenya, of course, is the biggest trader within that region. So second-hand clothes accounts for more than half of the clothing trend in East Africa. Why? Because, as I said, reliability, durability, the quality, but also the fact is most of people in East Africa, over 50% are below the poverty level. So not many are able to afford new clothes. So that's why people are able to buy second-hand clothes. This shows, in terms of volumes, of who are the biggest importers. China is the biggest. China, in Kenya alone, accounts for about 60% of clothes that are coming into Kenya. The rest, as you can see, fall there, but China is the biggest. There's a lot of issue about China. I think we all know there's a big debate about what they're bringing in, and whether it's second-hand clothes or is it new clothes. So there's a whole debate going on even in Kenya about what China is bringing in and how to be able to restrict what they're bringing in. We're speaking about the jobs, so we'll not go back to that again. And so there's the issue about second-hand clothes. It's a debate that has been going on within the government circles, that the African textile sector is dead because of second-hand clothes. We believe it's not the truth. There's a niche market for each of these 2 sectors, for manufacturers and for second-hand clothes. And our argument has always been that it's a big space for all of us, that they're able to coexist within the same economy, that second-hand clothes has its market, And then there's people who are into new clothes have their own market. Even right now, as we speak, we have government officials in the US who are trying to bring in fast fashion to set up shops in Kenya so that they're able to, in their own imagination, they assume that they'll be able to get rid of second-hand clothes. So it's not easy. It's a fight we're fighting each and every day. So we hope that they will see the sense of it. So as I said, the duty is high. The duty is set within the East Africa community. East Africa community is the EU. So they set the duty level for each the country. So they set at 35%. There's a debate going on whether to increase that or reduce that to what it was before, which was 25%. Hopefully they decide to reduce that to 25%. And this is the impact of second-hand clothes, which I've said. It's about jobs. It's about sustainability, the growth of economy. We also, employment, the consumer welfare. We are giving people dignity. We are offering our people dignity to wear nice shoes. You'll see someone wearing an original Nike, which they'll never afford, but they're able now to afford because we are able to provide that for them. So that's what it is. We haven't reached our potential. We believe there's more to do. As I said, the issue of coexisting between the manufacturers and second-hand clothes traders within Kenya, that's something that we're really pushing. We're having meetings with Association of Manufacturers in Kenya. We're having meetings with government officials, trying to make sense into them that these two industries play a critical role, that both of them are important to the economy, and they need to be supported to be able to grow the economy of Kenya. What we have done is we have done a couple of reports that basically indicates the impact of the economic impact of second-hand clothes in Kenya. And we have done 2 previous reports. We provide that on soft copy so someone can be able to go read and understand. What we can do is we are advocating through government agencies. We are talking to government each and every day for setting up of sorting centers, for reduction of duty, which is very high. We are encouraging government to invest in facilities, to allow setting up of the centers, to allow the legalization of second-hand clothes, pushing up policies that encourage investment in Kenya for second-hand clothes. That's what we're trying to do. And that's it for me. Did I make it the 10 minutes? Do I get the iPad? I get the iPad.
I think we still have time for a few questions.
Okay.
I think there are many questions.
Oh.
So let's just get the microphones around.
Yeah. I'm still in contest for
And if there's questions for Kirsten also, she will be willing to answer.
Thank you for taking my question. I'm actually talking about exporting to Kenya, shoes particularly. But recently, in the last maybe 4 or 5 years, they've made it very, very difficult with all of the PSI regulations and the KEBS regulations. You know, for instance, in shoes, they want to know where each pair of shoes is manufactured. They want us to separate children's shoes, and they just made it very, very difficult. And every time we're ready to send a container out, there's more questions and more forms. Can you talk to that a little bit and explain to us what the situation is and whether it's ever going to get better, or is it just going to get worse?
To be sincere, I don't know whether it's going to be worse, but we are in discussion with government. There is the Bureau of Standards for Kenya has a very strict categorization in terms of how the clothes come in, and they insist that the clothes have to come in separately. You cannot bring in what we call mixed category, but we still do bring it. But it's very clear in terms of law. It's still very clear in terms of law what you should bring. That's why they're saying that the shoes for children should be packed differently. So it's really has been a fight with them for over years. But as I said, we are discussing with government those are some of the things that I am doing each and every day to see that we can review the policies that are there to make it more friendly and bring in more investors into the industry. So just hold on, we'll get there. Yeah.